feels good. Yes, recording has started. Thank you for that. Thank you. Always when I do this, I notice I do it not only for the group, but also for myself. But during that time, I also calm down and become really present for what we're going to do. So I'm really happy because this is one of those opportunities where I get to bring my latest passion that I found, which is the parts work. Specific one that I'm passionate about is called IFS, internal family system. There's many kinds of parts work. That's the one I know, and bring it into my space, the space of NVC and nonviolent communication, where I believe all of you are at. And this marriage of these two is very special for me. So the headline for today's session is who in me has this need? And this is not traditionally a question that we ask in NVC. So I've kind of joked previously, like, wow, I have discovered the fifth step in NVC, which now I suggest to ask once we arrive at the need. We have a feeling we have a need, and to then actually ask who in me has that need. And I'm going to expand on that later. I'm not going to go into the deep explanation first, because I would like to give you an experience that makes it much more relevant and easier to talk about. So this is one of the elements that parts work for me introduces, to check who in me, and there's many parts in me, is that a scared part, a young part, a very tired part, has this need. And the second of various elements that I find hugely relevant is, from where am I listening to that part who has the need? From what place? And that could be another part who doesn't like what's happening, or it could be another instance, which this model calls self. And I will talk more about that later also, and not tell you theoretically, but that makes a dramatic difference. From what place of my inner system, of my consciousness, am I relating to what is coming up, to the need and to the part that has this need? So that's just a little bit of a prequel to give you an idea what we're doing. Like immediately after this, I'm going to invite you all to go into a self-exploration. I'm going to guide, like sort of a guided meditation. It will go around 10 to 12 minutes, and it will guide you through a process. You will recognize most of the NVC steps that are present, the way we usually do it, with examples in NVC practice, but it will be enhanced and expanded with the lens that I just explained. And after that, I will put you in small groups to have a little bit of a debriefing about the experience. We'll then share in the big group, and then we'll have time that I give you a little more background. It's going to be brief about what else this parts work has to offer, and why I find it so exciting. All right. Any question before we move into the shared experience? Okay. Doesn't look like it. Great. Then I invite you to make yourself comfortable again. If you want, you might like to have pen and paper ready, but I don't think you will use it during the experience, because often you'll probably want to close your eyes or just be in your inner world. And I'm inviting you as a stimulus, as a situation, very similar to how we very often do it in NVC practice. Pick a situation, something that happened to you recently, and I invite you to choose a low intensity on a scale of 0 to 10. Maybe 3 or 4 is enough. And that makes it much more easy to manage. This can go deep very quickly. And it makes it easier for you to observe and to stay with your inner world, to handle it, and to really observe and be with the experience, instead of being on the edge of intensity that is difficult to manage. So choose something that could be very present, a recent moment of reactivity, something unpleasant that happened maybe with a person. Could be an inner conflict that you're having, a recurring tension. Maybe it is just something that is on your mind that you will have to deal with that is unpleasant. It really doesn't matter. Anything that is a bit uncomfortable and where you're already aware something will be coming up if you bring that into your inner space. So I'm going to give you just a few seconds. Don't get hung up on the best situation or stimulus. Anything works. So whenever you're ready, when you have your situation, bring this stimulus, situation, or issue into your mind. Picture it. Maybe it's something from the last few days, some conflict or disappointment, pressure, or a pattern, familiar inner struggle. And you bring it into your inner field just enough to feel it a little. Not enough to flood you, but to clearly notice. And now observe and notice what happens in your body as you bring this situation to mind. Where do you feel it most strongly? The most likely feeling is coming up in the chest, throat, stomach, jaw, shoulders. And just notice throughout the whole process, we're not trying to manipulate or change anything, we're just observing. There might be more sensations than just a feeling. Whatever is in your inner field, observe. And now instead of saying, this is all of me or everything that happens in me, see whether you can say, okay, a part of me is now activated, is now present. This is how this part shows up. This part of me is maybe anxious or angry. Maybe it's pushing or collapsing or trying hard. And see if this part comes into focus a bit more clearly. And as you notice this part clearly or even vaguely, ask inwardly, how am I experiencing this part right now? Where do I notice it in or around my body? Does it seem young or old? Maybe fast, slow, heavy or light? What kind of qualities does it have? Is it trying to do something for me? And you do not need a full answer. Whatever comes, comes. Just notice. And now gently ask. This is a key question and moment. How do I feel towards this part right now in this moment? Important question. How am I feeling towards this part? Is there some curiosity in me and tenderness and openness or even compassion for this part that got activated? Or is there also some distance or even impatience or fear or judgment, annoyance, any of that? Whatever is there is fine. That's what's there. If you do notice judgment or impatience or any of that, anger, resentment, that usually means that another part is also present. One that does not like or has an issue with the first one that got activated. So if necessary, just say inwardly, some other part in me is judging this part. Some part wants the first part to go away. You're only there, you're only observing. And then return to the original activated part. We're not trying to get rid of anything. So even if just for a moment, there's a little more space around this part, you don't need to be fully calm. Just see if there's 5 or 10% more room, more spaciousness or openness, curiosity and compassion towards that part that got activated in you. Doesn't matter how much. And from that little bit of space, gently say inwardly to the part, I see you. I am here with you. I hear you. And see how that is for the part to be seen and witnessed compassionately. And now if you like, ask this part one or two of these questions, like, what are you feeling? What are you afraid maybe would happen if you didn't do this? What you're doing? What do you most want me to know? Or what do you need from me right now? Take the first answer that comes to any of those, even if it's vague. And with your NVC background, listen carefully. The part may first tell you a strategy. I need them to understand me. I need to get this right. I need to be in control, anything. And see if you can stay with it a little bit longer. And see underneath that, what does this part really need? Maybe there was already a need. Maybe there is an even deeper one. Maybe safety. Maybe trust. Maybe belonging. Acceptance or support. Let the need belong specifically to this part. It's not what do I as a whole human need, but what does this specific part need? And now bring back the central question of today. Whose need is this? And just complete the sentence inwardly. A part of me needs, or this part needs. And notice whether that creates a different quality from simply saying, I need. And now, if it feels possible, offer this part a little self-empathy, not analysis or fixing, just contact. You might say inwardly, of course you need safety. Of course you're trying so hard. I see how much you've been carrying. Makes sense that you want protection. You don't have to do this alone. Whatever it is, however it sounds, let the tone matter much more than the words. It's about where it comes from in you, not the words. Now notice what happens in the body as this part is met. Even a small shift counts. Maybe a softening, more breath, more sadness, more clarity, maybe no change. No need to force an outcome. to close, just ask the part, is there one thing you want me to remember? Take a moment to see what comes. And then, this is also important, thank this part for showing itself in whatever way it did, a lot or not so much. Thank it for showing up and being in connection with you. And then again, with no rush, take one or two deeper breaths. Take the time you need. Feel the chair under you. Feel your feet, if you like. And whenever you're ready, slowly come back. Take your time. All right. Thank you for joining this. And Vesna, I would like everybody to be in groups of 3. And we'll give 8 minutes just for a short sharing. 8 minutes in the full group of 3 so that every person has at least 2 minutes, between 2 and 3 minutes. And please, the time will be counting down. So please make sure that everybody gets their turn to speak. This is not to be coached or anything. So whilst one person is speaking, the role of the other 2 is mainly to hold the space and just listen. You know, as long as they're speaking and they're not asking for feedback or anything, just let them speak. This is just to be able to share in a small group what was noteworthy about the experience. What did you notice? How was it to get in touch with you in this little new way with a part, anything else? And if you like something back, if you want some empathy or reflection, you can have it, then ask the others. If not, they will just silently hold space. All right, 8 minutes in groups of 3, and then we'll have a debrief in the large group. Enjoy. Sure. I clicked on joining, and so I was, for a moment, I was in a small group.
Okay. I'm just checking if everyone has a pair.
Yeah, there should be at least 2, right? If it doesn't, I don't think the numbers work for 3 for all of them.
I was alone in my room.
Yes, you are just, I assigned you to a different room, so maybe you already have a message up.
I don't.
You don't?
Yeah.
Okay, move to just a second. Here you go.
Thank you, Vesna.
Thank you.
Enjoy.
All right.
Great. Good. You see that I don't see the time, but you see it, right?
Now we have another one who just joined.
Yeah. But if she just joined, we'll not put her in a small group if she wasn't in the experience right now.
Hello, Katja.
Hi there.
Hello, I'm sorry to be late.
That's all right. We just did a group meditation and getting in touch with a part to have an experience.
Okay.
And I've now for 8 minutes or 8 minutes, I think about 5, 6 minutes left, probably. People are in small groups debriefing that.
Okay.
And when they're back, we're going to debrief in the big group. So you can just stay there and join.
Okay, great.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's a minute and a half still.
Thanks.
So I now closed the rooms and they'll be back in most 1 minute.
One hour is so short, it flies by like nothing.
It's like this.
Yeah. But I actually like it too, because it's really condensed and to the essence.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hello, Diane.
Hi there. Great. Everybody back, I think. Oops, I was muted. Welcome back. All right, I'm really curious. So I would love a few voices for whatever you experienced, maybe what also went on in the small group, but primarily also of your process, if any of that was noteworthy. How was that experience to go into your inner world and connect with a part like that? Anyone willing and open to share? It would help me also a little bit to connect.
Yeah, I'd like to share because
Yeah.
for me, there was something going on. I couldn't figure out a need of my part, but a need towards myself. Somehow, the need that that part had towards myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in my judgments, oh, but this is not right. I should find the need that that part was having for itself somehow. So I was a bit confused. But it talked about something that is very deep and alive in me right now at this stage of my life.
Mm-hmm.
So would you like to share a little bit around these parts, whether they have a need of their own, or maybe we have a need for ourselves, or how is this?
This is already a very deep question that you're asking. So I will share. I'm kind of trying to discern how deep I go into it right now, where we're still in the sharing, but I definitely want to talk about that, because where does the need come from is a very core question in that. Yeah. And you already kind of touched on it. I guess, is it my need? What does my need mean, or the need of the part? And I think you had a sense of it. So I'm going to talk about it more, but I want to put that back a little. And go into it. I'm happy you're opening that space. Yeah, and it sounds relevant, at least the need energy that you got in touch of wherever it came from, the part. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes, I would like to share if I can.
Yes, please.
I know a little bit about these parts. But still, my situation was connected to this meeting today. And before I came here, I went to just hour shortly. I'm not going to be long. I went to went for a drink and drank cocoa, and I had a stomach ache, and I was like, okay, this is from the milk. I don't know. And then when I had this process with the part, and then that I gave it compassion, then my stomach stopped hurting.
Ah, interesting.
Like at the end, at the question, is this the thing? Now, what is the thing that you want me to know? And then I answered, I am the way I am.
That's the answer that came. I am the way I am.
Yes. And then at that moment, my stomach didn't hurt. And I was like, okay. I was avoiding something before, so my mind went to the drink, and I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I was avoiding something, and I'm actually was not. I didn't trust it, and I was like touching my stomach. I was like, "Is this real?" I was like, "Yeah, it is. I'm not. It's not hurting anymore." So,
wow.
I'm just grateful for that experience. Yes, that's it.
I'm fascinated. This also, especially by the sentence "I am as I am," and these are often very deep. That's why I invite to just listen spontaneously, not think about it. Because answers come from those parts that are surprising. What they want you to know, and for you and anybody, they show up in various ways. Sometimes they don't speak. It could be you don't get an answer in words. Some parts are so young they don't even have words. It might just be a sensation. So this for you and for everyone. You might not always get a reply in words. They can come in any shape or form.
And I have just only a little. Maybe you can answer it also later. A little bit that question in the beginning. Who in me has the need? For my mind went to my dad and my mom. I didn't quite understand it. Like my explanation was, this is coming from somewhere. Is it for my mom or my dad? But maybe I just wanted a little bit.
And also that is highly relevant, what you're saying, because these parts, they are, of course, highly influenced by your upbringing, by your mom and dad. And it can very well actually be some deep need that your mom and dad had, and or that is influenced highly in how they brought you up and how it was at home. But your parents will play an integral role in that. So that is very classic, that it says, oh, that somehow belongs to my mom or dad. In what exact way, we might not know. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. I want to know, by a show of hands, I didn't ask that in the beginning, who has somewhat any knowledge about parts work, just a little bit, heard about it, IFS or any other one? Yeah, quite a few. That's what I expected. That's always good to know, because then I know a little bit of this is known. So because the time is so short, and I'm looking, and we want to leave some space for Q&A, I will just give you a very brief top-down overview. And what you don't know, we have the luxury of having my good friend Salim here, who is a very long-time expert in IFS. So I'm inviting you at a point maybe to chip in, because you might see, there's some other aspect maybe that is so precious that you might want to bring it in. I very much welcome that. So in general, where Richard Schwartz came from, he was a systemic therapist, and probably most of you know about systemics, especially the outer family systems, where most of us know that there is your family, and that is the general idea of systemic thinking. You're not alone, you're embedded in a system of your parents and your siblings and all these people. And when he was when Dick Schwartz was in therapy with people, he was noticing over and over that people would speak in parts. They would say these things like, oh, this one part of me wants this, and the other part of me wants something completely different or hates it. And people would speak like that very normally all the time. And he would notice, okay, that's obviously not a condition or not a split personality. That's just how we operate. And I think pretty much everybody has said things like that without knowing about parts work, because you notice you have different voices. Something pulls you there, something pulls you there. So that was kind of the birth of that. And he noticed, okay, like in the outside, in the inside, there's also an inner system, and it operates very much similar to the outer family system. Yeah. So we're not just that one instance or that one person in that construct, but there are many of us in there who constitute. That is the very, very rough idea. And then these parts take over various jobs. And it's very compatible with the idea and attitude of NVC, all these parts are there for a reason, and all these parts are trying to help us. So the same way we say any action is trying to meet a need, all the parts are also doing that in a way. They're trying to help us, to support us. And one of the core jobs they have is to protect us from any kind of danger, very often danger of people, of being rejected, or of not belonging, or whatever that might be. And they manage our lives. We have these parts which are called manager parts, and they watch out the whole time for any kind of danger to structure your life. And then there's a construct of how these protective parts operate. And what they mainly protect us is, there's another class of parts which we call the exiled parts. That's where the woundings live, the feelings that are very vulnerable, often loneliness or fear or shame, all these feelings that we had usually when we were young that we couldn't tolerate. And this is where they live, and where those parts with those feelings live that we never want to have again. That sometime early on, mostly in life, we decided that is really dangerous, it's intolerable. And our protective parts are trying to protect us from those coming up. So this is very, very rough overview of the different kinds of parts. And in NVC, traditionally, we don't ask that. We don't ask where the need comes from. I arrive at a feeling, I might arrive at, I'm feeling very sad or disappointed because my need for acceptance or respect or recognition is not met. And from there, we're going to strategy, to a request or what we're doing. But in many cases, in IFS, we would say we're fully blended with that part. We are that feeling. We don't have any discernment like we just did in the little exercise, but we are fully in that anger or in that disappointment, and we're having this intense need. And from there, we're not in our full self. We're not in our full adult self. We are basically flooded with that feeling and with the intensity of that need. And from there, it's very difficult actually to make a request or to be clear about what we actually want. And it makes a dramatic difference if from that place we ask, okay, who in me is it? Who is right now having this intense feeling and this intense need for whatever it is, acceptance or recognition? And more often than not, we find out it's a protective part. It usually lives in a very young age. As for me, I often have this need for acceptance or for appreciation. And then I notice, okay, yeah, this is five-year-old Jürgen who is really scared to not be appreciated by his mom, and he needs appreciation. And it makes a huge difference for where I'm going from there. And then comes the next element, which is absolutely key. And maybe you recognize this from the meditation, from the experience. That is the second question: from where am I relating to that part? From where am I observing that part? And that was a question. It is not integral in NVC, and it was completely absent for me before. And this instance is unique to IFS in parts work, and it's called self. And that goes back also to your question, Stefana. Where does the need live, and who has those needs? And the self is not a part. The self for me is actually a very spiritual place, which you can call many names. It's my consciousness, it's my being, it's my essence, it's me. It's when people in therapy also say, when addressed, oh, this is not a part, this is me. Yeah. And that is that instance in me that will feel open, that will feel compassionate, that was curious about the part. Yeah, if you remember, I was trying to invite that. And if you notice, when asked, how are you feeling towards this part? That invites this place of self. And then you will notice when you practice a little bit, yeah, I want to know. I'm curious about this part in me. I'm feeling some compassion towards. And that will indicate that you're having some of this self-connection in the meaning of self of IFS. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, you are in the true meaning, how I would phrase it now, of self-empathy, because it comes from that actual place of self. That is, for me, the new definition of self-empathy. And it also, for me, underlined why I was so bad at self-empathy, it seemed like, in 20 years of NVC. It didn't seem to work very well for me. The reason was it wasn't really self-empathy. It came from another part. Yeah. So when that part comes up and you notice, I'm not really feeling compassionate towards that part. I'm kind of annoyed. I want it to go away. I hate that part. Then you're not in self. then another part is activated because you have many, the part that doesn't like the first one that came. From that place, you cannot practice self-empathy. But I tried that. Usually for me, it was my educated trainer part that knows all the technology of NVC, and I would do the steps, but it would still be my trainer part who would go, yeah, okay, step 1, 2, 3, 4. But it didn't really work very well. So this instance of self makes all the difference. I'm going back to you, Stefana. The one dramatic thing my teacher said when introducing this said, self has no needs. And that is part of the answer. Where does the need come from? The place of self is just my being, is just my essence. Yeah, and it is not carrying the intensity of these needs. It is compassionate to all my needs and to all my parts. But the needs live, and this is where the explanation I find ends, where it's a bit difficult, where it's more an experience. They live in the parts. Self holds them. Kind of, it's a different place of consciousness. It's not a part. That's why that distinction for me is maybe the most key one that made a dramatic difference in me in discovering IFS.
Sorry, can I just? I didn't understand at the end. What did you just say? The self lives within me. Did you say that? I can't remember.
I don't even know what I said. It is a different place than a part. It's not a part. It's not another part. I would say it's the seat of my consciousness. It's my awareness. I think it's called many names, and for me, I'm trying to explore it. I try to explore it every day. That place of observing my inner world, where I'm not blended with the intensity of my feelings and needs. Salim, do you want to add a word? I would really appreciate it before we go into a little Q&A for whatever else you might like to add to this precious topic.
I have nothing to add. I just loved the clarity with which you've just expressed the whole system, and I wouldn't add anything else right now. Thank you.
All right, thanks. That's super sweet. Then I would invite questions. We're not going to the IIT just yet because I want to invite at least a few questions on the IFS. Anything from, and again, this was in a nutshell. This was like the smallest kind of bit I can give you, like a top-down overview. There's so much more to talk about it. But I welcome any questions that you have. How it relates to NVC, anything about the construct at all, anything is welcome.
I have a question. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go. No, don't be sorry. I'm happy.
What if I say the nurturing part is coming up? What exactly is that? Is that the self, or what is that? Yeah, I
cannot know. You can only find out for yourself. This is part of kind of the territory that you will find out. And you will very soon clearly sense the difference of parts and self. The moment you say the nurturing part comes up, I suspect it might be a part, but I don't know, and then it is for you to explore, okay, how does that part behave? How does it feel when it comes up? And you will see. Yeah. Maybe I add one more thing. To notice when we're in self, I really love this about IFS. There is the so-called 8 C qualities. Yeah, and there are 8 qualities that all start with C. I still don't know them by heart. They're clarity and curiosity and compassion and centeredness and connection and courage. Yeah. And they're all qualities that you will sense in your body, and that is what you will connect to. That is what you will always ask yourself, like I did in the practice. Do I notice an openness? Do I notice curiosity and compassion towards what is going on inside of me? And that would be self. Yeah. And the moment something else comes in, which I clearly notice mostly is contraction, it's an intense feeling, something I notice, some part is entering my space. This is a little bit of an internal practice of sensitivity. You will know more and more. Yeah. But from the description, I will not be able from outside to tell you, is this self or part immediately? You will have to explore. Yeah.
Thank you.
And I saw you whilst I was explaining. I had a sense that things were resonating, so I was really happy to observe the resonance. Any other question towards IFS? Maybe one last one before we turn it over to the IIT questions. And I'll happily, via email, deliver some IFS resources for self-study that any of you who got curious enough can use also. Do that.
Man,
All right.
just for my understanding, the self is made of these parts, but the self doesn't have needs.
The self is not made of parts. No, the self, I don't think the self really needs parts. I'm not sure. It doesn't need anything. It's a completely different place of relating and of consciousness than the parts. And this, I really find that difficult to explain because it's very much an experience. Yeah. Very often what I also like is the observer. In many spiritual traditions, this is a classic way. Can I have some distance from what is going on inside of me? Yeah? The feelings and the needs, and then we see all that intensity in my body. Am I totally in it? Or do I notice, Michael Singer kind of invites, go back a little bit, like 30 centimeters behind the back of your head in your imagination, and observe from there what is going on. That is, I think, his way of inviting consciousness and self. There's so many ways, but is there some distance from where you can observe what is going on? Can I observe, oh, I'm having this thought now. A part of me is having this thought that this person is really terrible. Can I differentiate from being convinced that this person is really terrible to observing a part of me is thinking that? That is the key difference. And not automatically believe it. Yeah, thank you for the question. All right, so I want to use the end of our time for any questions you might have for our IIT that we're going to have this October in beautiful Slovenia. And you can ask any questions you want. We have the luxury of having Vesna here, who is organizing it, so she can say things from the organizational perspective, also from the venue. She has seen it from the place and logistics, and I can talk more. And Vesna has been at IIT herself, so she knows what's going on there. And I can speak from the content perspective. I can answer any questions about the trainers, about how an IIT is structured, what we do there a full 9 days, or any other questions or concerns you might have. So anything is welcome. Feel free. You can just open your mic if you want.
I have one question.
Yes.
In my workplace, each employee has, because we want certain funding, and each employee has Erasmus Plus funding that we can use in any country in the European Union for a training course that is related to our goals of the project. And I am able to use part of that funding. And I wonder if you have any experience or whether the Slovenian organization has this specific number or ID number. In order for me to pay for the IIT, I need a local organization to sign the documents. Yes, we can have this person come and so on. Do you have any experience? This is the question in a nutshell.
I don't have experience in Slovenia. I don't know if Vesna, you know anything about it. What I do know is that frequently a lot of people come to IITs via Erasmus funding, and that always works. But I don't know about the technical details. Anything you know about it, Vesna?
Yes, we're still checking because this is not the first question that we received. So Nicola, as soon as I get the answer, I will send it to you via email, okay?
Thank you very much, yeah.
And you're welcome to come.
Yeah, absolutely. Just shortly, Sabine sent me an IFS question in private, and I like it so much that I want to chip it in and answer it whilst you're still here. So she asked me, is it possible that a part of me takes the lead, and in this time I have little or no access to my NVC capabilities and skills? Yes, absolutely. That's what happens all the time. That's exactly what happens. That's what I like the question. One part will take the lead. I will be blended with that part. And this is what usually happens when I feel like I've forgotten my NVC. I cannot access my skills and so on and so forth. And you wonder what is happening there. And this is exactly what's happening. Some part has taken over. Yeah. All right, back to the IIT. Any more questions about Slovenia in October? I know the trainers. One of them is my wife, so I'm really happy about that. And the others I know as well, which are a very diverse, extremely experienced bunch of trainers. We have even 2 assessors in the team, Sudha from India and Roxy from the States. They're just amazing people. And John Kenyon is by far, since decades, the most experienced trainer, who's been by now, I think, in about 30 IITs or so in his life. So we have probably one of the most seasoned teams you can meet at an IIT.
Jürgen, there was a question about supporting trainers. If you can tell a little bit more on that.
Yeah. What and like any specific specificities about the supporting trainers that you would like to know about?
Just what the procedure is.
You just apply. You just register via the regular registration form, and there you can indicate. I did that recently in another IIT. I think I just put it in the comment field. In the comment field, I would like to apply as a support trainer. Yeah, that's all you do, and then we know, and then we'll get in touch. We would love to have some support trainers. Yeah.
I also have a question related to the supporting trainers. If they participated in one IIT as a supporting trainer, is it possible that they apply again the next year?
Yeah, it's definitely possible. I think, I don't know what the exact rule is, but I'm pretty sure at least once per year you can do that. And I'm also sure there's flexibility. You know, there's also, it's always good to have a certain amount of supporting trainers. Sometimes that is filled, sometimes it's not. And then we would definitely still take some. Yeah, so it's always worth applying. Yeah. And this IIT is a good one as a supporting trainer with the team that we have, Roxy and others. We really invite them to be part of the team and to also play a role there and really support the training and be involved. So it's quite an active role there. It's very nice. I just did it in Spain and I really enjoyed it. Yeah. Anything else? Any concerns you might have? And I'm imagining that not all of you have been at an IIT. You know, I can talk about the structure. Anybody wants to know a little bit, if you haven't been there, how an IIT is structured throughout these 9 days? Okay, I'm not seeing a lot of enthusiasm about that question, so I'm not going there. Anything else that you might want to know?
What do you like most about an IIT?
I like that one. What I like most stresses me a little bit because there are so many things that I like. So I'll talk a little bit about the things that I like. I mean, it is called international intensive training for a reason. And I do like the intensity of it. It is probably, from the formats I know, the most intensive one there is. There's a reason why trainers to be certified are required to have done at least one of those. I love that it's very long. That adds to the intensity, 9 days, and it's residential. The difference to many other formats is that, and that is very intentional, is that we live there. We live there together for 9 days. We move into that venue and we create a community, and it is much more than just attending training sessions and receiving content and teaching, which is an integral part. You'll have a lot of sessions and nobody will be able to digest all of them over 9 days because there are many. However, we're there 24 hours and a lot of the inner process happens around that, even at breakfast or in the evening or in between or in the small groups that we're having. So it's a full immersion experience. I think that is very key, what I like about it. That differentiates it from most other formats, because rarely will you be with a large group for that long time embedded. I often say we travel to planet NVC for 9 days. We transport us there, yeah? And that is not a joke, because we're not just learning, we're trying to live the principles whilst we are there. So when we have conflicts, which inevitably when you're there 9 days with a huge group, there will be some tension between some people, we'll look at them. and we'll try to use what we learn to resolve them, or something needs to be changed in the structure or whatever, and then we'll see how we use the principles. Yeah. So it's all that is I think what I really like. It is applied in life in these 9 days, not just in the learning sessions. Yeah. I love that a lot about it. And I like the internationality. I always like it. When I visit one, I rarely do it in Germany. I am from Germany, but I go elsewhere. And there's usually so many nationalities. Yeah. I mean, at the one in Spain, I don't know, 15, 20 nationalities is like average. Sometimes it's 30 or more. So you will have people often from all continents, from so many countries. And that also adds very much to the flavor and the color, the diversity of people who are there. And they are diverse in languages, in nationalities, in religion, in whatever, and in NVC skills. You will have people there sometimes who are crazy enough to make their first NVC experience at an IIT. And then you will have trainers, seasoned trainers of decades who go there not only as trainer, but as a participant. So you have the full range of experience from 0 to 40 years or whatever. It's very, very colorful. If you haven't been there, it's actually really hard to imagine what the intensity is of that kind of training. Many people describe it as life-changing, which I would say I've done 2 of them in 2007, where I was still lucky enough to have them with Marshall. And it was exactly that. It was life-changing. I would go out as a changed person. Yeah. Yeah, thanks for the question. I like that.
And we are slowly coming to an end. Unfortunately, the time goes really quickly. Any final words, Jürgen?
Well, mostly a thank you. I really appreciate it. I enjoyed just in the small break. I said to Vesna, an hour seems like nothing. It goes by like a breeze, and I really enjoyed it. Thanks for taking this evening. Thank you for the questions and everything. And I would just really enjoy it to meet one or a few of you in person in the mountains on the top of the hill in Slovenia in October.
Yes, thank you all for being here. Special thanks to you, Jürgen, for guiding us into the exploration of our inner parts. We hope that this session gave you not only useful information, but also a felt sense of what the IIT experience is like, both in learning and connection. I will also warmly invite you to our next session, which will be held on May the 6th with Iris Bawidaman. We also warmly invite you to follow us on Facebook or send us questions about the IIT. And until then, I wish you meaningful connections, and I hope to see some of you in Pohorje this October. Thanks again, and have a beautiful evening.
Thank you, Vesna. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Jürgen.
Have a great evening.
Bye.
So we see each other tomorrow.
Yes, we're having the next one tomorrow. Cool.
Thank you for this. It was really nice.
Yeah, that was a pleasure. It was fun. Thank you too. All
Have
right.
a good evening.
You too. Take care.
Bye-bye.